strategy, and then there's also a lack of confidence in terms of effectiveness. Where's the lack of effectiveness, the lack of confidence and effectiveness coming from, do we think?
I think people don't know how to measure it. They're a bit scared because it's so new. They're not sure how to show ROI, particularly if they don't have executive buy-in, which I think is very important. I know at Robert Half, that was one thing from the very beginning. We spent a lot of time educating our executives on why we were doing it. And that helps if they can push it down to the rest of the organisation and you actually get involvement from your people, not just the marketing team. I think that's where the effectiveness can come, particularly from our situation.
Yeah. When it comes to measurement then, so you guys are all experienced content marketers. What tips can you provide the audience in terms of measurement?
Look, I would say, yes, I'm thinking primarily from a B2B standpoint, but we've applied the same principles in the B2C side. There's essentially, people usually talk about 4 buckets of measures that you apply for content, and that's typically as well as how actually you produce the content in the first place. It's all about the consumption metrics, then it's the sharing metrics, and then it's lead gen and sales. And what people really struggle with is communicating beyond the first 2. Yeah. The first 2 are, it's easy, and to be honest, maybe following on your point, your bosses don't necessarily know. Like social for many years got away with just focusing on the first 2. And now the reality's coming home for that space. The promise of content marketing is actually being able to tie right through to the sale. And that, technology-wise, we're still in the early days of actually people being able to knit together many tools to be able to pull that story together.
It's linking the engagement through to the commercial aspect of it.
Well, and our content piece through to a sale. I mean, who can really say this content piece attracted this person who bought this?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I think that, again, I'm coming from a B2B sort of perspective, and it's very, very important for us in order to continue to have the executive buy-in to showcase that tie-in. Yeah. We're in the very beginning of the journey, so all we can actually point to now is, how much more traffic we've got, how many sign-ups to newsletters, and the engagement piece and social shares and all of that. But really, where we're spending a lot of our time now, just thinking through, is how to showcase the ROI or the tie-in in the lead generation, and it's really about having the objectives in place and knowing what you're trying to do with each piece of content, and then the systems in place to measure. So you've got your marketing automation piece talking to your CRM, talking to your website, and they all connect, and then through the end of that funnel, you can actually hopefully show that that sale over here was initiated with that download of a white paper or with a view of a blog post.
So quite interesting. Your hard business metric is lead gen.
Yes.
The number of leads.
Yeah. So the number of leads and then contribution in sales pipeline. So not just how many leads were generated, but how good they were. So the size of the deal and all of that. So for you to be able to measure all that, you need to have the systems in place, and you need to have the processes in place, and it kind of really does take a little bit of time. But I believe that it can be done.
Yeah. And how difficult is it within sort of client organisations to make that case for something that's quite so new and untested as such? And
I think it's more about moving the budget rather than creating new budget. So if there's a pocket of money there that can be used for experimentation per se, and maybe the right way to go about this is, what is the budget that was not really tied into ROI, or where you couldn't demonstrate the ROI as effectively. So advertising, DM, the classic cases where it's a bit difficult to measure. Maybe you can divert a little bit and get the buy-in for that money to be spent on content marketing, and then really think about your strategy, really think about the framework and the approach, and then commit to it, and then hopefully you'll be able to demonstrate and then and get more on top of that.
Yeah.